welcome to the panel sessions. We have now 70 questions. I know we are not going to take, or we'll just take, because some of the questions are related, and some of the questions, other speakers had addressed them, so we'll just pick a few. So I'm going to ask Tosin this question, and this person has picked the question from what you said about plateauing in a particular environment. So the person is asking, because you remember I said some of these questions is God that can tell you, and that's why everybody talked about God, talked about providence. The person says, how do I know when an environment is limiting me? What are the things that I should look out for to know that I'm already plateauing and I need to make a move or have a career shift?
So I think the first is when you look at your capacity to deliver and what versus what you're doing. I say to people every time, pay on the job is the least of what you get from the job. What you get from a job is actually, in fact, every job is like an apprenticeship. What you get from that job is the ability to stretch yourself and to stretch your capacity, whether it's mental capacity, primarily, or physical capacity, depending on what it is, your skills. Now, when you realize that you have the ability to do more, you have the capability to do more, but there's no room to do more, whether because of the way the team is structured, whether because of the job function that you are given, or whether because of the way the industry, the company is, that's your first clue. You are. There's a word that I want to use. You are underutilized. When you're in a job and your capacity is underutilized, you can be in a job that is paying you so much money, but they are robbing your future for today. Wow. Because you are not using your brain, they are not using your skill, and you're grossly underutilized. When you leave that job, nobody's going to hire you because you've spent years and you've gained very little in terms of new experience, new skill, and new capabilities. So that's the first thing. When you're in that kind of space, then you know that you should be figuring out how you move out. That's one clue. The second clue is sometimes you've reached the highest you can be on that job. You've learned, you've grown, you've done. Some people don't mind. They've reached the highest they can be, but they will just continue to mark time, and they are being paid. Again, what you learn from job, once you stop learning from a job and growing, no matter your level, it's your clue that you've outgrown that and you should start figuring out what additional thing to do, add, pivot, change, whatever. So I'll say, at least from my own experience, those will be your two clues to know when you've outgrown the space.
Please, a fantastic round of applause for that response. I'm sure that we are taking lessons. And when I look at the questions, you audience are just the best ever. Please, a round of applause for yourself. You know why I say that? Because your questions are now practical. And JB, you know why I say that? The next question says, according to JB, he talked about having integrity, intelligence, and energy. I work with a boss that lacks integrity, has negative intelligence and energy. Help me. Please, JB, what is the solution to this case?
Exit. Thank you. Thank you.
I like JB. No, he doesn't have time to speak too many words. Please, you have been told to... Did you hear that? You have been advised to... You are not a tree. Move or be moved. Don't go and be moved to prison. Exit. Thank you. Interesting. So I'm going to ask Shaya this question. As a woman, we have unique challenges. I can't lie, there are unique challenges. That's why we started Clean Women Mentorship Program. But we want the men to also understand their challenges. That's why we are not taking her behind, So as a woman, how do you excel in a male-dominated environment?
Well, I think first of all for me, it's first from the orientation. You see, anybody, whether male or female, then I would then come to the facts or the unique circumstances of a lady or a woman. The first thing is if you have defeated yourself in your head, you don't need any other person to defeat you. You're already defeated. So coming back to the question of saying, as a woman, how do you thrive or excel in a male-dominated environment? The first thing is that you see yourselves as colleague, not see your colleague as a male or as a female. So in my own unit for a long time, I think for many, many years, actually, I was the only woman about, very close to the top, because really it was very, very male-dominated at the time. And I don't see myself any less. And the irony of it is that as a woman, what a man will do, one thing that a man will do, you have to do like 3 times as much sometimes to prove that you are able, you are capable, you should be given the opportunity, but keep doing it. One day it would be seen, one day it will be noticed, one day it will be rewarded, one day it will be recognized. So don't get discouraged. And the times have even changed a lot. As a matter of fact, now, the men are not listening right now. Now, career is favoring women better in a way. But it shouldn't be gender-driven because we now want to do diversity and inclusiveness, we are just filling a quota. It should be that we actually merit those offerings that we are getting.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for C.L.E.A.N. And I just want to add to that because, that's something I'm also passionate about. I'm the only girl in my family, so I'm in a male-dominated environment. However, success has no gender. Success follows principles. If you practice maybe just 2 of all the things we have said today, you won't be intimidated by your gender. Yeah. Because actually it doesn't exist. Like she said, it's just a mindset thing. Please, a round of applause for us. IBAC disruptor. There's a question for you. And it says that, so the question was about how do you manage disruption practically? What are those key things that I need to do to make myself proof from negative disruptions? Yeah.
I think one of the most important things that you have to do as to be disruption proof is, you have to keep learning. You have to keep learning. It's very important. You have to build that capacity to continuing that path of learning, because unlike before where knowledge could last a period of time, now knowledge is changing very rapidly. So the ability to always want to learn is what perhaps is even more important than the knowledge itself. Albert Einstein said that it is better to be inquisitive than to be knowledgeable. You understand? So it means that the ability to ask questions is one of the surefire way to be disruption proof. So in 2025, that's the number 1 way. Number 2 is to build an impregnable network of people around you. That thing is very powerful. There are many areas or spaces I could have been exited from, if not for the people around me who tell me that, Femi, something is coming. Watch out, this is coming. Be prepared. If you don't have people around you, you'll be disrupted. I remember when I was in university, and I'll use that as an example before I hand over. When I was in my 3rd year, I was like a lone ranger. I felt that I was the smartest person in the department. And then my other guys started observing, okay, continue now, you're the smartest person. Anytime there are special assignments that maybe the lecturer gave them while they were lobbying, they will not let me know. My CGPA in my 3rd year, that year where I was the singular guy thinking I was a special guy beyond everybody, was the lowest in my 4 years in school. So by my final year, I realized that Ogweni, here in brain, I started associating more. And that year was my year of my highest CGPA. You see the difference? It's not that I became more intelligent. I started building a stronger network around me. So in my career in business, I invest aggressively in network to make myself disruption proof. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for Femi. I like what he said about being inquisitive rather than being knowledgeable. So the next question is directed to Ms. Olayinka. Ms. Olayinka, how do you deal with low engagement on your post on LinkedIn when you started? Very good question. And I didn't get the time to, talk about my LinkedIn story. So if you look at my page, after I posted about that, I passed CFA. I then decided I wanted to start talking about business nuggets. That was what I called it, an article. And I was, sharing periodically. I can't remember how often, there may be monthly or so. I had a colleague then that used to be my editor, so I would write to help me read for typos, and then I'll post. And I will get like 5 likes, 2 likes, 1 like, Then I started in 2018. It was the same 2018 that I started Business Nursery Nuggets, that I started teaching CFA. And when I got to class, what inspired me, what I saw was how quickly my students were just ready to give up their exams because they didn't pass at first attempt. And I'm like, we wrote it 10 times. Where are you going? You are going nowhere. You live here, you not die here. You live here until you pass the exams. So that was what actually motivated me to start, sharing my personal stories. I would share it in class with them, and then I would, come online and share some of these stories when I remember them, when I get inspired. I like to write, by the way, so it's not work for me. And that was what inspired. So I noticed that I built an audience. So that's why we said that the first thing is you have to identify your audience. Who do you want to target? So I built an audience around, personal stories, and I stopped writing business nuggets because nobody was even reading it anyway, But if I make a post, I can get 10,000 likes, 15,000 comments. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but, So I was getting that engagement, and I knew that my audience, the people that were actually following me, they don't want to read business nuggets. I have to evolve. I have to move or be moved. And so I started, writing more about it. And I also started infusing it with what I do for a living, which is that I'm a consultant. So if you go to my page, so it's just like the way you see celebrities that influence. What do? They'll talk out, you will follow them, then one day they'll say, come and buy this slimming tea. It will give you flat tummy. And you will buy it. Why? Because they can influence you. So that's the way I then saw my brand, that my brand was, yes, first of all, connect with me. If you connect with me, I can then come to you to say, hey, please do, I have targets. Can you do business with me? Do you see how it works? So you first of all have to know who your audience is. You have to find that thing that is your story, that thing that makes you you, that your wow factor. It is from there, then you can start to share. Now, if I have 1 like or 2 like, it really doesn't matter, because what matters is that you personally have fulfilled an obligation to yourself to say, I want to post. All the people that became viral today, go and check it. It's one post that made them viral. You don't know the post that will make you viral. So if you start with saying, because you are judging yourself by the 1 like, 2 like, or 10 likes, then you are not doing yourself a favor. What you should see, that LinkedIn to do is a place where I'm archiving my personality, archiving my person, archiving my career journey, because when they want to hire you, the first place, if I want to meet anybody, anytime I'm looking for somebody, I go and check them on LinkedIn. Some of us, I didn't mention it before, you don't even have a professional portrait. You did selfie like this. And you put it there. If I want to, do you think they will hire? They'll just say, this one is not serious. That's it. So, in fact, my sis is saying that some people don't even have any picture. So please, let one of your to-dos today is look for a good photographer. We have one here. Do portraits. Put nice picture on your page, because that's the only way that people can contact you. Thank you very much. Yes, please go ahead.
So you have to also understand that, she's said like everything, but there are a few things I want to add. You also have to know that you have to be technical about what happens on LinkedIn. I see that, some people make posts and push it at times when there's nobody around. So it's not just by saying, I wake up, I write. Then when people are sleeping in Nigeria, you now go at 1 a.m. and this is when is the an outpost. You will have 0 comments, 0. And you know the algorithm is this: within the first 1 hour, if your post does not drag enough views, LinkedIn will pack it. You understand? So it's very technical. It's not, you just need all these people that go viral. I think that they've mastered it. So you have to also be very deliberate, be technical, know when you need to post. There are certain days that I now know that, look, if I post on this day, minimum I'll get 60,000 views. You understand that? Storytelling, non-negotiable. 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 Consistency in writing, non-negotiable. Is better to be average but consistent than to be spectacular and be occasional. Do you understand? It's better to be average but consistent, but spectacular and occasional. Do you understand? Write constantly, even if it doesn't sound as if it's great. Be dropping it there. Do you understand? So it is very key to be very technical and be very consistent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for Femi. So this is a general question. Anybody can pick it. Because, and the question is, would you say your choice of spouse contributes to your career growth? Please share from experience. So that's the question. You want to take it, JB? Please go ahead.
I mean, I would have thought that that's pretty straightforward. Of course, your choice of spouse can make or mar you with respect to your career. There are major career decisions that you make that you need the support of your spouse. So you must be married to someone who understands where you are going, and you have sold that vision to that person, and the person bought into it, right? And that's the only way, in my opinion. One of the things we talk about as friends, I mean, young guys, is also the fact that, for your academic achievements and all of those, it all depends on you. It's about you. You just need to be very serious, go to class, show up for exam, write the exam and pass. But the moment you get married, it's not about you anymore. Unfortunately, everything that also happens to you after that point is not about you anymore. Therefore, that decision of who you want to bring into your space to continue that journey with you is extremely important. Extremely. We know women who did not, get to their full potentials just because they have a very jealous husband who cannot see a successful woman sleep beside them, who cannot stand a successful woman, right, sit right in front of them at home. So those decisions, and it's same for women too. Some women will tell you, go make all the money, and at the same time, they will tell you, you are never present, you are never at home. So you must have someone who understands where you're coming from and where you are headed. It's either you want a JB that will be home every day, and we are both broke, or you want a JB that at least goes out there to try, and then we have something to show for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, JB. Anybody else wants to add to that quickly?
Okay, let me just add to that, especially as a woman, that is very critical. And when I was also talking to Ross, I also shared about having a very strong support system. If you're already married, God help you. But if you are not, it's also a good time to, permit me to use the word, shine your eye and be prayerful. And start test running your goal, your aspiration. You won't know all of your goals because we evolve. But at least at the minimum, you have an idea of where you're going. But if you're already with somebody that your goal that you have not achieved is already intimidating the person is not secured in themselves, you know, it's a no-no, it's a red flag. In fact, run, fly, do all that you can to leave those kind of relationship. Because, in fact, a lot of the things that you do, you will always underestimate it. You don't know who you are becoming. So you would even be a surprise to yourself as you begin to go along. But does this person have the capacity? And are they secured in themselves enough to see you fly and actually flame your fire to burn? They are that support system that you see strongly pushing you, even sometimes that you want to cave in. You know, they are saying you can do it, you're more than this and all that. And that would also help, it will just do you a lot of good and advantage. And when we also talk about the life that we have, you're not sure of another life beyond this one. So at least live this one well enough. Don't manage it. So if you're also in a relationship that you're already feeling uncomfortable, you already have your answers. So you don't even need to go for so many counseling or advice. Sometimes you go for those advice just looking for somebody to endorse that, okay, maybe he has this good side you can manage. Marriage is huge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, I have a special, okay, you want to? Okay, wait, my husband wants to say something. My husband doesn't talk in public, so please help me to clap, help me to hail my husband.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So on that, seriously, I want to thank you everyone for being here. I remember when we were in school, I met my wife when I was in part 3. She was in part 1. She came to my room to collect an ICAN textbook. So then I was writing my professional exam in marketing. So I came back from fellowship to pick something in the room. I saw her. She was sitting on my bed. Oh, who's this? Are you writing a professional exam? I was doing marketing, Nigerian Institute of Marketing. She was writing ICAN. She was writing ATS1 then. So those days, she'll be reading in library. I will cook in Fajr and take food to her. Because anytime I'm cooking in my everybody in Fajr Yinka is coming or I'm taking food to meet her. So it was in our talking stage that we discussed all of this. And the only thing that she said that attracted me to her was that I would love to marry a pastor. Me, I'm not a pastor.
You turned out not to be a pastor.
She's the pastor. And they know in church, I've warned them before, even Pastor Poji, Emma appointed me as pastor. And how? So what I'm saying in a sense is that during our talking stage, we discussed about this. And she said she wanted to work hard, she wanted to be a consultant, she wanted to be this. We got married. She was in banking and she was sacked. So she asked so the option we had then was accounting firm to work with in Ibadan. She should go and teach at Orita Mefa Baptist as a teacher. And I asked her, Madam, but what you told me that you want to be a consultant, what is teaching and this thing? We will not do this. I went out of my way, I got someone, we got the referral, we got the job. Now, for you to get this job, you must bring 10 million naira deposit for you to get this job. And we spoke to everybody. One lady gave us naira, and we drove. My daughter was behind. And we parked, we were waiting for one of our manager. We called this guy for 30 minutes. Later, he switched off his phone. So we had an option. Either we go back to Bodija or we come to Lagos. I said, yeah, let us go. I'm telling you this story because if two of you, Bible says, one will chase 1,000, two will chase 1,000. What it means is that if two of you understand where you are going to, it's better. You don't need to force it. Don't look, I wasn't fine like this when I married her. If you come to our house.
I married the future.
So, and she used to wear all those.
But I had potentials.
No, let me see it. She has Boko. Aleshi lawyer. Is that Aleshi lawyer?
Yeah, Aleshi lawyer. I'm proud. That's where I started
She used to
from.
go and
But
buy
now I
Aleshi
can't afford
lawyers,
any designer.
Aleshi
Come
lawyers
on.
and all of
You
that.
can't shade me.
So what I'm saying is, so we're in the car and we decided either we'll go back home or we'll go and say, yeah, let's go. and we moved. So the story that's always helped me in the scriptures. Those lepers, they were at the border, and they said, if we stay here, we will die. But if we move, things will change. I said, let's go. We got to Lagos, she got the job. She got the pay cut. When we came to Lagos, we used to live in Agungi. Water, my daughter, she's there. Water, the bad water has destroyed our legs. So we said, let's move to mainland. We moved to mainland. But I always tell my wife, this Lagos is not my first to live on the island. But if I want to live on the island, though, it will be Ikoyi. So when we were trying to move to Ikoyi, we didn't have the money. I mean, I was expecting a particular fund to come at that point in time, or to move at that time. But money wasn't there. My dad said, you said it's Ikoyi. What I'm saying is that I've already put it in her head. That time we went to this, I was changing my mind. She said, no, dear, you said this. What are you guys discussing? Is this somebody says gossip, or you discuss your family? Just let me show you that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Oyetunji. Please give my husband a round of applause. Thank you. You see this marriage matter, maybe the next conference, maybe we should have a special discussion on marriage, right? It's a career decision. Tosi wants to say something. Thank you.
Well, for a woman, it's an extremely important decision, and it's a career decision. I'm going to focus on women because the social consequence of a failed marriage is more for a woman than for a man. So if a woman, you need to be 3 times as cynical and 3 times as skeptical than if you're a man. And I'm saying it as it is because not all the stories are so sexist, right? The second thing I'm going to say is JB said something about the Holy Spirit, about when he wanted to make that career move. If you're a woman, and I'm talking to you specifically because you're a woman, because sometimes the art of human beings are deep. And sometimes people can say things to you and they mean different things, or they are not saying to you the things that they mean, and you cannot pick it because they will say all the right things and you cannot see anything that is different. So in that stage, you need the Holy Spirit, in addition to maybe the career move that you're going to make. You really, really need the Holy Spirit to help you see what is in the inside of men. Because it's not everyone. In talking stage, a lot of people talk things. And then the man will change 360 degrees. And you're already inside it. So in some talking stages, even in some dating, it's as obvious as light and day. It's as clear. But then they think people change. And people change for different reasons. Some, they've had it in their mind that they are going to change. But they just wanted to bring you on board first. Some also changed because they were still evolving and they didn't truly know who they were or what they wanted, right? But if you're, and I'm very specific, if you're a woman, and I told you the reason earlier, because the social consequences is more for you than for a man. You know, you don't hear about single fathers, but I'm sure you know the criticisms about single mothers, right? So be 3 times as skeptical, be 3 times as cynical, especially if you are the type that want to really go far in your career. If you don't mind, if you don't have that kind of ambition, then you can, just be less careful. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for this contribution on marriage. Thank you, Tosi. I have another question here. We have a testimony. I just gained clarity on my past. Won't you clap for that? But I feel I am behind in terms of age. What do I do? I'm behind in terms of age. I feel like time has passed. I should have achieved some of these things earlier. What do I do?
All right, let me take that. You see, comparison cheats us because that's what will suggest to you that you are behind. Because you already have a standard or a yardstick to say, oh, my mates are here. Whenever you wake up is your morning. So wake up and get going.
Yeah, like that. Whatever time you wake up is your what? Morning. Correct? Just wake up and go. You see, what you said reminds me when I was like 35. I used to tell my husband, disturb him, that well, my time has gone. When am I going to become this? When am I going to become that? You know, I said, how old are you? When I recently became about, he reminded me, he said, oh, I thought you said your time has gone, that time has passed. Everything is about holding onto your faith and believing that your time and your chance will happen. If you if you keep your faith, things will actually happen to you. I'm sure you've listened to all the stories here. Somebody just made a post. Investors are saying, let's give you money. Does that make sense? No, it's providence. So let me take the next question. And Tosin, I will direct this question to you because of what you've said. It says, I'm at this point in my career where my superior feels I'm doing too much and should lower my energy. How do I navigate this phase of my career? And then I want you to take the second one about how can I bounce back from a recent failure? I know you have, I know you can answer this too.
Okay, so I'll take the first one. Well, if your boss is already saying you are doing too much, maybe she's or he is afraid you are coming for his or her job. What should I tell you? There can't be two. If you are doing too much already, and maybe you are even doing things that he wants to be doing or he tries to do. It's not every boss that can handle growth because they themselves are not growing. If you're a boss that you're not growing, you be a lead on people instead of being a leader. So, and then what do you do? They can't grow beyond your own capacity to grow. So your answer is you need to come up with a plan. Go and look for another institution where you take the role of your boss, right? So go for a higher opportunity in another place that gives you the capacity, the role, the expansion to do as much as you need to do. Well, in this conference, you see many of us, we've moved jobs, right? So we don't really talk about, we are not trying to say, leave a job or don't leave a job. It's about you. It's about you. That's why this is not a conference sponsored by an institution. So we can talk freely, right? Of course, I'm a partner. I don't want people working for me to resign. But then I realized that it's about them. If they have to go, sometimes they have to go if that's what it's, if it aligns with their job and in their career. So you need to kind of take your career from that perspective. I'm saying it because I think some people have like emotional attachments to certain places, and you feel like, I can never leave this organization, I can never leave this employer, I can never leave this. You kind of need to change your mindset around that, because sometimes you've outgrown certain places and there's no room for you anymore there, so you need to move, right? That's the first one. Second one, how do you bounce back from a failure? First and foremost, a failure doesn't define you, right? So, and actually, it's a privilege to have a failure, because nothing humbles you than actually failing. Because if you haven't failed, you don't really, a lot of us don't do attribution when things go well. When I mean attribution, you don't analyze what worked or what didn't work because things are going well. You apply for a job, you get it. You do this thing, it's working. This one is working. So you don't really go back and sit down to say, what did I do well, what didn't I do well? I say this every time. The exam you fail, you most times remember that exam. Some questions you did not do. In fact, you will go, that question, you will never, ever, ever, ever forget it or that concept again. Why? Because you didn't pass. Now, the exams you pass, is it all the questions you get? No. But do you go back and check? So you really don't know, why did I even pass or why didn't I pass? I've passed, I've moved on. So actually, failure is an opportunity, because I consider failure a privilege. It's a privilege for you to pause and do an attribution. What worked, what didn't work, what could I have done better? If every time you fail, you don't do this, then you are wasting that opportunity. And that's how you should see failure. If you see it from that point of view, you realize that failure is just like a precursor to success. So it's not really finite. It's just a phase. You take the lessons, you take the learnings, and actually, if you do that, you set yourself better for a better chance at succeeding in whatever it is, whether it's relationship, whether it's work, if you do that, rather than just say, I failed, and then you collapse from there. But if you go back and figure out what happened, what did I do, or what could I have improved on, then when you succeed, actually, success becomes sweeter. Because what's success when you haven't failed? You don't really know what success is.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Tosin for that question.
Okay, so the only thing I just want to add is this. You failed. That is in the past. The very thing you need to do next is start again. You need to remember that. You need to start again and then forget about that past. Don't allow it to define you. And I'll give an example. In 2015, the vice president of Nigeria at the time, Professor Oshibajo, went to a RENCAP conference and made one statement about exchange rates. That statement that day moved our own position as a company to a negative with several zeros for that, just that statement. But you see, the point is we had the option of dwelling on that problem and then keep saying, oh, why did he say this and all that. But you see, people who know me, they know that has happened. Then what do we do? And that same year, from exchange rate, we made huge profits. So the rule is this: you failed. You are not failing. You failed. So the next thing to do is what? Move and start again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, JB, for that. Okay. So we know the famous questions. Marriage, failure. Continue.
So I want to address the first question, which is if you have a boss that's, saying that you are doing too much. I think, again, while that should not be condoned in any way, and if you have the opportunity to move, you probably should. But I also observed, this is my journey, that you also have to be a great subordinate. Because a lot of people are not great subordinates, let's be frank about it. You go for meetings, you'll be like this every time, like this. And your boss is sitting down here. You understand? So, do you know some of the ones that bosses have moved people and promoted them? Is when you give your boss the room to shine. Yeah. I have to give your boss the room to shine. When in my 9 to 5 time, I know that technically I'm probably peerless, but I always say, it's by every presentation. The people that are above your boss, we ultimately know is you, but you don't have to, it's me. So when you can give credit, give credit. Where you can make your boss shine, definitely make the person shine. When you can, it's called managing up. It's very, very important skill. You must manage up. Buying small gifts, you can find the way to turn that negative perception boss around. Where the person who is saying that you're doing too much, you now say you are not doing enough. Do you understand? It's very, very important. Be a great subordinate. And then having done all that, if your boss is still yearning that way, then you know that it's time to exit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Femi for that. I really like that response. I have another question, which is just similar to what we just discussed. It's a very short question. It says, navigating workplace politics. Beat them, join them, or run away? You want to take it? JV wants to take it.
Okay, so, we have a lot of this cliche everywhere. For me, there is no rule. There are instances where you have to lead it. There are instances where you have to join them.
Where you have to have your party.
Yeah, you have to create the party. There are instances where you have to join, and there are instances where you have to run. And that's the truth. So it's for you to know what is happening at each time and then define the appropriate response. In actual fact, I don't like response. I always say you need to define how things go, so, right? As against reacting, right? So I wouldn't say you should pick one of them, because if I tell you the best thing is don't get involved in it and all of those, there are instances that you need that political party, man. You need it. You actually need it. And I want to recommend a book. Please, if you have not read it, get it. It's called 48 Laws of Power. Most of these things are in there. They tell you how to deal with these things in the work environment, how to manage your boss, how to manage situations where you are not getting credit for what, that's the office politics. What you should get credit for, you're not getting credit for it. It tells you when you need to respond and when you just need to keep quiet, right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I just want to add to that, to what has been said about office. There is politics everywhere. In your church, in your mosque, in your house, there's politics. So there's nothing special about office politics. Can we continue? We have 16 more minutes to the end of our panel session. So let me quickly I just want to get as much as possible from this panel. The next question is to Femi. Femi, what kind of roles do you foresee will come up in the future? Yes, you've told us things are going to move, they are going to disrupt. What kind of skills do you think we need to go and build right now?
I think there are a lot of the roles. I'll be over-assuming to say I'll be able to predict exactly. But one thing is very clear, that at least for the next 10 years, the conversations will be about how you can insert AI into anything you're doing. So any role that takes AI as native, right, is going to be very dominant in the coming years. Any role that does not take AI at the center will die in the coming years. So in the field that you are, just do that maths. Am I on this side of the divide on this side? If you're on this side, port immediately. You know the way you port from one network, just port like this to the other network. So that's the first thing. And then I would say that any job that digitally, you honestly in your mind know that a machine can do. You know there's a job you know that this thing I'm doing, God help me. I'll mention a few. We know that we have AI agents now, customer service. You say, but they are still talking like machine. Very soon they will start talking like you. So that field is going to be disrupted. Any field that involves writing, I spoke with the head of a newspaper company, and he's saying that some of the finest articles that we've seen written before, all the guys that were writing, they would go overnight and write. Now, he said some of those articles, in fact, he said 90% of his articles are pre-written by AI now, and then they just give it to some of their guys to fine-tune it. So you can imagine that if they needed like 10 writers before, how many would they need? Maybe 2. So you need to put context to it to know. I might not be able to tell you that this one, but know that any field that is not AI native, that's the keyword, please run away from it and move to the ones that are AI native. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for Femi for that. I have 2 questions that are very specific to roles. One is for JB, one is for Shayo. So I'll just take it together. Maybe in 2 minutes, you just tell us. Someone is saying, I'm taking a CFO role, but I'm a senior accountant. What are those things I need to do to make the role a success? And for Shayo, somebody is saying, I'm starting an audit career. What are those things I need to do? So it's open.
Thank you for being magnanimous. All right, so you're taking an audit role. What are those specific things that you need to do? The first thing you should do, or that you should know, first of all, is that you're moving into a learning environment. Why? Because you're facing diverse clients on a daily basis. You need to understand how, to analyze. You need to understand the impact of the information that you are getting, whether in minutes of meeting and stuff like that. What is that implication for your role? What is the implication for the risk profile of that entity? What is the appropriate risk response that I should be having to it? And that is very important. Then it's also, an environment whereby continuous learning. So am I that kind of person that, because you have compulsory learnings that are firm-based, compulsory learning that are driven from your profession, whether it's ICAN, you have mandatory, or ACCA, you have mandatory learning that you have to do. Then you also have to have personal learnings, because whichever way you've done all of this training, whether web-based or otherwise, there will still be gaps. Even as a partner, there will still be gaps. So for yourself, you also have to identify personally those skills gap that you think you need. And those are also not technical alone. Soft skills may be there, communication skills and all of those things. What do I need to do to be able to show up better, do better work, and deliver value? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shayo. Please, a round of applause for that. JB, for the CFO role.
All right, thank you. So the starting point is you're a senior accountant, you've gotten a CFO role. So I'll say congratulations to start with. But I think 3 key things. Number one, a CFO role is not necessarily an accountant role. We need to be very clear about that. It's not a financial controller role, so it's not about debit and credits. So you need to allow that sink in and start processing from there. That's number one. Number two, in that role, you need people, connections. Your network is really important. You need to talk to experienced people, people who have done this CFO work years before you. The truth of the matter is, if you think you've seen it all, when you sit in that role as CFO, then you would know that you have not actually seen anything. So you always need people, right contacts, right bankers around you, the right people, because as far as the institution is concerned, anything that has to do with finance, I didn't say accounting. Accounting is just a subset. Anything that has to do with finance, optimizing our capital, raising the right capital, deploying the right capital, you're expected to undo all of this. You're expected to be in charge of controls. You're expected to ensure that we do not have operational risk issues. So things like this don't just mean it's not because I've been a senior accountant, then I can function well as a CFO. So you need people. You need to constantly improve yourself. Like I said before, he who does not read has no advantage over he who cannot read. You need to read from time to time, improve on yourself. I mean, just continue to do more. And please, there is no playbook for a successful CFO role. Don't copy what JB did at 40 and say, I want to replicate it at Adova. There are 2 different companies. Balance sheets are different, challenges are different, the expected outcomes are also different. So you must look at the peculiarity of your institution and then do what? Start. Sometimes it's just a fear. Oh, don't worry, just start. Ask questions where you need to. Be very curious, and I believe you will do well in the role. By the way, if you are in this room, please, we can talk after this meeting. Thank you.
Wow, congratulations to that person. Okay, we're almost rounding off, but we still have a lot of questions. But I'm going to do this. There's a question on career sponsors. Please, if you ask that question, go watch Odiri's session last year. She talked extensively on how to get mentors and sponsors. And just to quickly answer that question, you cannot approach anybody to be your sponsor. Your sponsor is the person that will identify you as a talent and carry your matter for head and say that I must always open doors for this person. So you really cannot say, come and sponsor me. They only identify the value that you bring as a professional, and then they begin to open opportunities for you. And one of the things that makes that happen is when you pray for favor. You know, somebody will just say, oh, I just like you. There's something about you. But of course, you know, the original premise is what? Your technical skills. Thank you. But Odiri shared a lot about it. So please try and watch that video. On failure as well, I spoke a lot about failure last year. My session was on failure. Please try to watch it on YouTube. Our Clean with Olayinka YouTube. I'm going to take the last question now, and it's open to everybody, even though I know this may be more directed at me. And it says, how do you rebrand at the workplace when people already have a perception of you? That's a very, very important and critical question. My speakers, anybody wants to take it?
C.L.E.A., so I think I can start. First, I think it's a broad question. So I will approach it from the perspective of my own understanding, what I think you might be saying. So when you say, how do you rebrand when people have a perception of you? The first is what caused that perception? Why do they develop that perception of you? I don't know if this is what you mean, but let me give you an example. If people have a perception of you that you never say what you say you will do, or you never deliver your job on time, or you always deliver shabby work, that perception came from somewhere, because people cannot just pick a perception out of nothing. So the first thing you need to do is to actually do a reverser and change whatever caused that original perception. If somebody has a perception that you're always late, that would have come from somewhere. So you need to then change that. If you do bad work, you need to change that. That's the starting point. You need to first start with addressing whatever initially may have caused that perception before you start now focusing on like other external things that you might need to do to now reposition the perception. That's my own 2 cents.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Toast. Anybody wants to add anything to that? I mean, I think you answered it the way I thought. Wow. So I'm going to take, closing remarks from our speakers. But before I do that, please, can you help me appreciate them? These people here are my brothers and my... Yes, please. Appreciate them, please. Give them a round of applause. Appreciate them. I don't feel the energy. Are we tired? Thank you very much, JB. Thank you, Shayo. Thank you, Tosin. And thank you, Femi. There's nothing we can do to pay you for your time today. I know how busy you are as CEOs. Everybody on this line is a CEO, and I know how expensive your time is. But we want to give you opportunity of sharing your closing remarks, something that we're going to take away as we march into C.L.E.A.N Conference 5th edition. Who is going first?
Thank you very much, convener, and also all attendees. I think for me, architecting your career transformation, what I want you to go with is the fact that you need to own that journey. It's your journey. You are responsible for it. You cannot outsource it to anybody, regardless of who that person is to you. Have your goals and own that process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, JB Shayo.
All right. I think what I have is also very similar to what JB said. And I will still revert back to what I said initially, which is the driving seat of your career. You should be the driver. If you had outsourced that to somebody else, get that person off the seat and man the seats by yourself. And don't also just man the seat without knowing where your destination is, even though it's a journey. But you have several milestones to signpost whether or not you're going in the direction, that you had, initially planned. So if you, by chance, are going in the wrong direction, however far you had gone, you can't end up being in the right destination. So it might be a time to, reverse and start your way to the right direction. And if you're already on the right direction, I wish you well. Speed and agility and whatever is required, the learning and, branding, all of these things that we have talked about today, inculcate them in your journey and you see yourself moving in the exponential way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shayo. Tosi?
Thank you. I think 2 things. The first part is some of the things I said earlier. Start from where you are. Go back, check what's your superpower? What are the things that make you uniquely you? Identify them, own them, become the best at them. So start from there. And once you do that, take the next step and take the next step and take the next step. That's the first thing. And like I said earlier, the middle is crowded. So be the damn best in what you want to do so that you can separate yourself from the pack. The second part is, and just to one of the things Femi was saying, when I was talking earlier, I said one of my own superpower is I'm a voracious learner. And there are a few of us that things come to us like that. We take information, we consume it, we analyze, and then we can learn, we can move from this job to this job to this job. We learn fast and we do it. If that is not your natural strength, that might be something you need to get. Because nobody knows the job of the future. I'm just being honest with you. But what we know is that your ability to unlearn and relearn, we always, whether it's you want to learn soft skills, learn art skills, learn technical skills, learn whatever it is you need to learn, we always serve you. So if that's not one of the things that is natural to you, that should be one thing that you need to take away from today, just the ability to learn.
Thank you very much, Tosi. And finally, Femi.
So 2 things. The first one is, as I said in my presentation, don't stay stagnant. Keep moving. Move so that you will not be moved. All right. Very important. 2, your network. spend all your money on it. Building that, I said 15% before. Between that time, I've changed my mind. Spend all your money on your network. It's very important. There's this particular part of the good books that says that I see an evil under the sun. I see princes walking on ground and servants riding on horses. Who put the servants there? Their cycle of influence. Cycle of influence is people on your level, people above your level, and people below you. The gate man that will open the door, build that network. The guys who are your colleagues, build that network. The guys who are the kings who say, I want to take a break today, let somebody else ride this horse, build that network. I wish everybody all the best.
Thank you very much. What an amazing lineup of speakers, you agree? Yes or no? Yes. But the most amazing people here is the audience. Please, a round of applause for yourself. You have stayed here from morning till night. This is so wonderful. And as we close C.L.E.A.N Conference 2025, we wish you exponential growth. When you come back in 2026, you will be bigger than this. Thank you so much.